Okay, so after my dad's funeral, the Shiva begins. That's the 7 days of mourning after someone's death. The word Shiva actually means seven. Here's the thing: it sounds like 7 days of mourning might sound like a lot, and of course it is, but it might sound heavy, but it really is fantastic. I don't practice Judaism anymore. I'm not. I'm an atheist, but this Jewish tradition, I love it. So first of all, you meet. This is what a shiva is. You meet in one place for the next 7 days. I think sometimes people split it up one day here, one day, but usually it's very nice and simple. It's usually at the person's home who passed away. Sometimes it's at their sibling's house, or an immediate. It's someone. It's family most likely. This was at my father's place. My mother still lives there. Wow, it's so weird to say things like that. But anyway, then for 7 days, people come in and out of your home if it's there. And sometimes people hold hours, like we're holding the Shiva between noon and 5, or 3 and 7. Our place, well, my mom's place was just open. That's where me and my brothers were staying as well. And it was anytime. And it was, I would say, 12 hours a day. And just for us, because my mother didn't put a time on it. And I'm going to say we get to wear the same clothes from the funeral. And to me, that was such a relief. I don't want to think about what do I wear again today for the mourning of my father. I just want to be like, oh, this is my outfit. I actually threw it out afterwards. First of all, they have to cut it because we're immediate family, and there's a tradition to actually rip it for a sign of mourning and that you're the immediate family. So I'm not going to sew it. I didn't ask them to cut it a certain way. And also, I think it was like a $19 Amazon dress or something. I liked it. But it was that's another nice thing that comes with the Shiva. It's like, okay, these were my funeral clothes. I can throw them out now. I wore them. They serve their purpose. We're good. And there's also praying, which I didn't have to be a part of because I'm female. So they kind of like do you a favor, but you still kind of feel left out and weird, but we'll get to it. Anyway, I do think it's a fantastic tradition. First of all, you're not alone. Someone dies that you really care about, that you're really used to, that you have a life together with, or even love from a distance. You're not alone. You're not just not alone. You're surrounded by people who knew the person, who love the person. You hope it's people who love them, and you have plans. You're not just kind of like hiding. You're waking up with purpose. There's something to go to, something to do, and I think facing death in that way is very helpful. So you're taking another step. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to be, and you don't need to be productive. People are coming over a lot of times with food. And also the closest people, the immediate family, they're actually not supposed to even serve themselves. We bent that a little bit because that's a little uncomfortable, but you feel taken care of while you're going through a very heavy emotional time. And also being busy with tradition, like knowing what's next for a minute, instead of like, things just kind of feel like they're happening to you after death. I think all of these make this Shiva tradition really good. 7 days of, hey, let's walk you into this new life. Let's be with you as you transition. And, when you think about it, is 7 days even a lot? It's, then you meet again 30 days, and I think a year later. I like these kinds of traditions that I feel like they take care of some of the mental health that happens that is necessary after a death. It was also an incredible way to get to know my dad, because this is his life that's coming in all day. Some people brought pictures. I saw my father, a picture of him in his uniform in his soldier days. He looked so young. I mean, he was young, it was like 50 something years later. some people brought a video and I was in the video, and these are the things that triggered my tears, because you suddenly see the person, you're like, oh my God, I remember you. You're not just a dead person. Oh, this is the person. And also family, talks about family. Like, I didn't hear much about my grandparents. I got to talk to my father's sister, who always lived in a different country than me. I didn't really know her. They don't talk that much. They don't like to gossip. But I understood, even from my father, that his father was a tough guy. So his sister confirmed it. She was like, he was really, really tough. And I said, how tough? And she goes, really tough. And that's kind of like, shut your mouth. I said what I said. I was like, oh, I'm trying to push it because I'm hoping that this is the place where I can do it. I also met some of his beach friends. Like, I thought that was so cute. How cute is it that my father had beach friends? It was, he always liked going to the beach. But he also liked to dance, go out dancing. Like, he wasn't such a homebody, but he became more of a homebody as he got sick and older. And like some of it was physical, that it was very difficult physically, but the beach was always around. And so I heard from his beach friends, and I heard from a lot of people, he's the life of the party, he's kind, he's understanding. All the neighbors came, like all the neighbors came. They were like, oh, I'm one flight this way. That's my balcony over there. And it was the next building over. The neighbors were really sweet. One neighbor was the one who made this flyer. He printed out some paper and put it downstairs for information for where the Shiva was. So as people go into the building, they know where they're coming from. It also memorialized him for the building if any of the neighbors wanted to come. But he was actual friends with a lot of the neighbors. So that was nice to know. And sometimes I took breaks. 12 hours is a really long time. Sometimes I took breaks just to kind of like be sad about it. I would cry. I just wanted to be alone for a minute with the tears. And then sometimes I took breaks to be sad for myself, to feel sorry for myself, because as much as it was really nice to get to know my dad, sometimes I would feel a little jealous of some of the relationships that people got to have with my dad. He was a lot softer on other people. He expected a lot from his kids. And, you know, it just like reminds me that, like, give some of your good parts to your partner, to the people who live with you. I think a lot of times we go out, we like put on our good face, we're encouraging to other people, we're warm to other people, they get to make mistakes, and in our home we're a little bit more rigid with them, and a little bit because we're at home, you know, we don't need, it's very hard to, I guess, have that much patience all day long. And maybe we can extend that patience to the house a little bit more. I think I'm talking to myself, you know, just don't have all the kindness or fun or all the positive attributes that maybe even make me tired, but it's fun and it is the way I am. Don't only give that to the people outside of the home. So sometimes I took breaks to understand that that's just to have feelings. That's all. I like to have feelings. Anyway, for the 7 days, this is most of the daily routine. I actually slept in my mom's bed. So yeah, where my dad was, they were together. So, but she said, she's like, so Chemda, you'll sleep with me, right? And I was like, I guess that's her asking me. And I can't imagine whatever, you know, it felt like a request that I was like, hey, you know, I'm going to say yes to pretty much anything she'll ask me this week. This is tough. And it wasn't bad at all. She stayed on her side. There wasn't like hogging of the blanket or anything weird about it. It was just fine. And we were expecting to expect people by 9:30 a.m. So we had to be kind of like up and around by that time. It's not that early, but it is when, like, you know, last person leaves at 9, and I'm not complaining at all. It actually, like, it was really lovely. It's such a good tradition that it was nice. It was, sometimes I looked around and I said, my dad would really have liked this party because it felt like, it felt a lot like him, people just getting together, chatting, connecting. There was no drinking, but eating and praying. I don't think he cares one way or another, but it was a good vibe. Maybe that's weird to say about a Shiva, about a mourning period, but so yeah, 9:30 though, and my mom's siblings were usually the first people to come. They made sure we had what we needed. Also, with the you're not supposed to do anything, they kind of like took on the role of we'll do it. They were so sweet and also funny. They were so parental to us and so warm, and their kids, our cousins, were so, I had to realize that my father was the first on that side. So none of their fathers had passed and none of their mothers had passed. So he was first, and I could sort of see that in their warmth. Like, oh boy, yeah, if that makes sense. Also, the whole time I'm practicing Hebrew because this is in Israel, and I hadn't spoken or heard Hebrew in 15 years. But it was cool because some people were practicing their English. Sometimes they were like, can you speak English to us? Because we want to practice. Or with a couple of people, I said, why don't you speak English and I'll speak Hebrew and we'll both practice on each other. That was really cool. It's like regular things happen too, like the heaviness and the death is there and the loss is there, but there were moments of fun and niceness. It felt really like I said, my father would have liked it. There were also every day at like 4:30, there was prayer, and you have to have at least 10 men, no females, they don't count, in order to have a prayer circle. And again, a neighbor was like, hey, if we don't have it, because again, people come in and out, so there's not really a time, but I think because people know that's when prayer is, a lot of people started coming around that time. There was prayer. Then after sundown, there was prayer too. And the thing is it's not a big apartment, but they went to that side and the women were on this side. And by the time they were done with that first prayer, the sun was about to go down. So the second prayer happened like half an hour or so afterwards. And in between, there would be a guy saying a speech of some sort. And it, it's not a rabbi, but, and it's not even one of the elders because one of them was pretty young. It's just, I don't even know. I wasn't there. Like I was on the other side. I couldn't really hear well enough. But it's one of those like, this is what happened in the Bible and how can we debate it or chat about it or learn from it, or I forget what that's called. I think they do it in church also. It's just kind of like a message. I think it's inspiring and spiritual. And then after that, people would continue coming in and out. And after everyone left, my mom wakes up at like 4 a.m. sometimes, definitely by like 5:30, and goes. She goes and goes, but by like 8 o'clock, she's going to bed. So every night, and I don't know that we're allowed to do this during our father's Shiva, but my brothers and I would take a walk, and that was really, really cool. It was really great that my brothers were there. Like it's such a different feeling. The same thing happened to them as happened to me. We lost our fathers, and we were around the same age. We were raised, although different, a little different each, but we knew who this guy was in a very, very similar way, the same way that nobody else had. So it was nice to speak from that perspective as well, and also to not talk about it at all and to catch up a little bit. It's not like we live in the same state as each other, so it's kind of nice to see my brothers too. And that was the day. Every day for 7 days, Halfway through was my birthday, my 50th birthday. And I just said to myself, you know what? Not this year. This year I'll move it. I'm fine with moving it. And so when I woke up and my mom said happy birthday, I was like, oh, I actually forgot. I decided I'm moving my birthday this year to another time. And she's like, don't. She's like, your father died, he died, but people are going to come today and they're going to say happy birthday, and you accept that happy birthday and you have a birthday and be at your father's mourning. And I was like, whoa, that is, I don't know. My mom was, I don't want to say easygoing, but connected, I guess. I don't know. She didn't feel as conservative about, this has to be this way, and you have to say certain things at certain times. She was just kind of like, you could feel both things. You can experience both. Don't kick one out because they both exist. And I was like, wow, okay, that's very cool. My aunt bought me a couple of shirts. Just wanted to acknowledge it, and she secretly, because you're not supposed to celebrate your birthday, but they were like, look, we're cool. The neighbor secretly brought me cake. Turns out her birthday was a day after. I had no idea, but she was just busy taking care of me. It was so sweet. And this is a person, their neighbor, they used to be neighbors. I remember 15 years before was the last time I went there, and they lived across the street, and their kids would come over to my parents' house every day, and they would be like their grandparents. And the same person got me a cake. This family is so sweet, and they do feel like family, and I understand how much my parents, both of them, meant to them. Yeah. Now, there's one other thing that you're not allowed to do during a Shiva, and that's sing or play music. Some people don't play music for a year or go to any celebrations, depending on how religious you decided to be. I don't go by that, and we secretly, again, don't tell anyone. Actually, a bunch of the cousins were sitting out on the balcony, and my brother is learning the guitar. He knows how to play a couple songs now. He's getting really good. And my cousin's wife, he married someone who's a singer, and it just kind of happened. And then there was like a little low, very low sing-along. We weren't like being boisterous or anything. That might have been disrespectful, but it was I believe that singing brings people together. It connects people. You feel together. You feel like there's actually things connecting you as you sing together. And I think that's why prayer works really well. That's why it feels good to be at synagogue or church or whatever temple. And at my funeral, I would love for people to sing. I think that would be really fun. I would love for people to have a good time, whatever that means to them. And being in a room and just remembering someone is such a great way to let them go, to accept that they're gone, to start mourning, to feel different feelings, sometimes anger, sadness, and the fact that you can also allow happiness is, I think, very modern of us, or maybe not, but it's modern of what I know. I always picture, everyone's in black and, don't tell a joke. The whole week is serious, but that's not how it was. It was serious. It was respectful. But I don't know that remembering someone has to be only sad. So I'm really, really glad I got to be at the Shiva. Some people came every day. Some people dropped by. Some people heard from a friend of a friend. They happened to hear in time to come and pay their respects, if that's what that is. Pay their respects. It's such an interesting phrase. But so yeah, thank you to everyone who came. thank you to the Jewish religion that came up with something like that. I think it's a great way to mourn, to remember, to experience this person who you can't in the flesh anymore. So yeah, thanks for this is part of it as well, is talking about it. So thanks for letting me share it with you. Thank you for sharing it with other people. And I appreciate you subscribing and listening. Bye.